Prescription. Oh yes, Stephen, take that as another one. And I go to another pharmacy, I've now got another 400 pills, 800 pills. I didn't care that my doctor might get in trouble, didn't think about it. I wanted 800 pills in my pocket, and I got them. End of story. So they don't think about the consequences to anyone else. They don't think what they're doing to their family. And it all starts right at the beginning when you start experimenting with substances that change how you see things. Between the first 9 months of COVID, on top of the 150 a day, another 606 people died each month, all because of alcohol. Would you agree with me if one person dies, that impacts on 200 people? Do you agree with that? Yeah?
Yeah.
That means right now, right this second in England, there's 30,000 people mourning someone who died today from alcohol. And another 30,000 will mourn tomorrow, another 30,000 the day after. It goes on and on. That's what we do. That's what we do, and we think it's funny. We tell drinking stories. We tell war stories. This time I went out for a drink the other night, I was absolutely slaughtered. And you want to see what my mate was like. We don't care. We don't care, we think it's funny. And think about if you go out for a drink. Say you work in the city, so every night you go out, on your way home, before you go to the station, you go and have a drink. Everyone's from the office is in the pub with you. You have a drink, and about 7 o'clock you go home. There's always one of you who doesn't go home. There's always one of you who stays there till 11 o'clock on his own. And that's always the one who's in the pub first. They get there first and they leave last. And they end up with nothing. And that all starts again when they're 12 or 13 years old. If your children are going into year 12, they might start binge drinking. Binge drinking is awful. It's drinking to oblivion. Drinking to pass out. This is one of the cultures that's around today. They don't care where they end up, but I'm going to drink till I can't even stand up. And along with that is people spiking your drink. They spike in your drink with a drug called Rohypnol. Rohypnol used to come in a pill, and you could see it fizzing up. Now it comes in liquid form. You pour it in the drink, you have no idea it's in there. Date rape is the other name for it, or roofie, the forget-me pill. It takes 10 to 20 minutes to kick in, and you can forget about the next 8 or 9 hours. And you have no idea what's been done to you. They caught at Manchester University a few years ago, not too many years ago, a mature student who lived in the students' lodgings. And he was grooming 17, 18, 19-year-old boys. And he raped one of them. And when he got caught, 200 other boys came forward to say they'd been raped by this man. He got 29 years in prison. These are people, we send our children to university, we want to look after them. But when your children are drunk, when they're stoned, they're not thinking straight. Someone says, come up to my flat, we'll go and have a drink before. Next thing you know, you've been unconscious for 8 hours. And someone's been doing things that you didn't want them to do, but you didn't know because you were out of it. And that's quite frightening. One hospital in London, St Mary's in Paddington, 2 years ago, 1,200 women presented at A&E under the influence of date rape. 1,200 women in 1 year in one hospital, that's like 4 a day. Think about what that figure would be like if you added up all the hospitals in London, or in the country. Going to where all the universities are, in Bournemouth, Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Birmingham, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Cumbria, in Wales, in Cardiff, Bristol, Exeter, Plymouth. It doesn't bear thinking the damage that's being done by drugs and alcohol. I take the students on a trip from cannabis to heroin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, can you three stand up, please? If we all smoked weed today in this room for the first time, this is a number of us that would be dependent on it. This is a number who would not be able to go to work in the morning without having a spliff. This is a number of people who will be plotting all day who they're going to smoke with before they go home. This is a number of people who couldn't go to bed without having a joint before they go to bed. Okay, sit down, except you. That's the heroin addict in the room if we all tried weed today. That's fact. You can't come away from that. This is a small school. You want to sit down? Thank you. Don't know why you're standing up.
I'm a hero.
This is a small school. I go into big schools and I've got 300 people in a year. And I go around the room, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6 has to stand up all the time. Now in a hall with 30 kids standing up. If we all smoke weed today, for the first time, 30 people in the room will be dependent on it. 9% of those 30 standing up will become heroin addicts. So what's 9% of 30? 3 and a bit?
Yeah.
Right, so I'll get everyone to sit down except 3. In that room now, there's 3 heroin addicts waiting to happen. But it don't stop there. We have years 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So in the school building at any time is, how many is it? 21. 21 heroin addicts waiting to happen. 21 junkies in school, waiting, not now, but in time. And then when that lot have left school, there's another 21. I guarantee you, if that's the figures, there will be 10 junkies coming out of school, eventually. Where do they come from? They come out of schools. They come out of schools, they come out of our houses. They come out of our homes. You know, none of your children have got the ambition, when I get to 35, I want to be in a rehab. None of your children want to be a junkie. But someone's got to be. And when they sit in rehab, they're in a circle, 20 people in a rehab, and I treat clients with the brutal honesty, not honest brutality, with the brutal honesty that I'm telling you. And I say to them, 2 of you are going to be dead within a year if you don't stop. And they laugh. And I say, oh, you're laughing. Put your hand up if you've been told by the doctor you're going to die if you don't stop. 6 hands go up. I said, well, pick any 2 out of those 6. And then let's take it a little bit more seriously. A man was in rehab recently. One of the loveliest men I've ever met. He really was. He's come into rehab to get clean so he could marry, in his words, my princess. I'm going to give my princess a life like she can't imagine. I'm going to look after her, I'm going to cherish her, I'm going to be... That's what he said, not my words. He left rehab to get married 3 weeks later. His princess phoned me the day after they got married to tell me he died the day before they got married because he relapsed. This is what we work with all the time. I want to ask you all a rhetoric question, all right? So I don't want to know any answers. I wonder how many people in this room know someone in full-blown addiction and the damage they do to their family. The damage they do to people around them, people that love them. They don't care. When they're using, they don't care. All they want is my next hit. Okay, so 1 in 6 teenagers who smoke weed will become dependent. Cannabis, their friends will tell them, no, well, you can't get addicted to weed. It's all right, it's herbal. Anyone who tells them it's not addictive, it's because they're using and they want to convince someone else to use with them. All the people who want cannabis legalised are the people who want to smoke weed without getting arrested. Holland, we want to be liberal, we want everyone to love us. Prostitution and drug taking, legal. You imagine you've been to Amsterdam and you walk down the road and you've got all the shops with women standing in the shop windows. Here, go on darling, €50, you do what you want to me. It's legal, does that make it nice? That's someone's mum, sister, cousin, grandma standing in the shop window, offering whatever they want. They have a problem in Holland with teenage, it's an epidemic of teenagers with cannabis-induced psychosis. We've got to do something. They've opened a rehab called Yes We Can. The rehab is the finest rehab in Europe for children. It's 300 beds. It's full. all the time, and there's a waiting list. If you're not Dutch, it's only 70,000 euros to go in. But they realise they've got a problem. They allowed it to go too far. Cannabis will mess with your mental health, your long-term, your short-term memory. Will make you paranoid, schizophrenic, suicidal, depressed, anxious, angry. No one who smokes weed would ever admit to being angry. When they switch from being nice and loving to angry, that's a pretty nasty place to be. You don't want to be around them when they do that. It will affect their ability to have a family. Girls, it affects their periods. They won't know whether they're coming or going. Boys, it don't work. But the problem with boys is it don't work and you don't talk about your problem. So that makes the problem get even worse. And then you get involved in a relationship, the wife wants a baby, and then you have to think, I can't give you a baby because it doesn't work properly. When you smoke weed, it affects you in so many different ways, but people won't admit what it does to them. I have a friend I know, and she got married to someone who, when we were kids, he was so good looking it wasn't true. He looked like a model. But now to see him with a pockmarked face and covered in acne, because this is a common thing, and he smoked weed every single day since he was 14 years old. And he's gone to pot. That's what's happened to him. He looks ill. It's really sad to watch it. 5 facts that your children's friends or dealers won't tell them. And I put friends or dealers on purpose, because if your children's friend gives them drugs, whether they buy them or they get them for nothing, that friend is now their dealer. And that changes their relationship. 100% of people who inject heroin started on weed. We talk about it as a gateway drug. Every heroin addict who injects, their first drug of choice was cannabis. 9% of people who smoke cannabis will go to heroin or harder drugs. 16% of under 15s who smoke cannabis will go to cocaine. They wanted to legalise it in Portugal, which was a terrible thing to do, because when they did, 25% more teenagers started smoking. But all the kids will say, yeah, but it means I can't get arrested, but I can be, it's legal. But that doesn't take away the damage it does to them. So everything else I'm telling you stays the same. The only difference is you can't get arrested. 90% of heroin addicts never stop. They use until they die. Let me explain. When you start using mind-altering substances, you stop feeling. Your feelings get suppressed to the bottom of your stomach. You can't feel. Now, when you decide to stop using, 20, 25, 30 years later, your feelings that have been suppressed for years have to go from the bottom of your stomach out of your mouth. And there's 2 parts of the journey. The first part is, why did I pick up in the first place? They have to identify, why did I pick up? Could be any reason. Any reason whatsoever. That gets them to there. The next part of the journey, wow, what have I done to my family? They can't handle that. That's too difficult. Very few people can get through that stage. They start thinking about the people they've mugged and robbed, people they've beaten up, people's houses they've broken into, cars they've stolen, not seen their children for 15 years, missed their children growing up. They can't handle that. The easiest thing to cope with that, I'll go and use. The percentage of people in England whose complete rehab and never use again is 12%, which means 88% carry on using or go in and out of treatment. They can't stop. And when I work in rehab, they lie. They don't tell the truth. They pay lip service. They tell me what I want to hear. They don't tell me what's really going on for them. They don't tell me. They've been using drugs for 25 years, and I say, who's craving? And no one they sit there rigid. No one. You're not going to get into trouble for craving. You've been using drugs for a long time. They have to be honest. And if you can't be honest, you're never going to do it. When you change your life, and I speak from experience, and I speak from my experience personally and what you have to do it, you have to change one thing in your life. If you change this one thing, you'll succeed and you'll never use the drink again. What do you think that one thing is? If you can change this one thing, you'll not use it again. What do you think the one thing is?
Stop taking, stop using.
Sorry?
Stop using.
No, if you do this one thing,
Oh, that will stop using.
you'll never ever use again.
Self-esteem,
No,
confidence.
yeah, keep going.
Be honest.
Go on. Yeah, you're not wrong, but go on, one thing.
Your friends.
Keep going.
Take account.
You try and tell a child you can't have these friends anymore, but you change one thing. And I'm talking, it's so hard to do. If you change this one thing, you will never ever use again. Do you want me to tell you? Yeah. Everything. You have to. I have no friends from before. None of my friends knew I was on the street. All my friends used to say, "Oh, everyone in the world should have a friend like Stephen." Where were they when my life was going down the toilet? I had friends that I played football with when I was 11 and 12. The only time I see any of them now is at their parents' funerals. And they look at me as if, should we go and say hello? And they're talking in pairs. It's Stephen, isn't it? It is him. Should we go and say hello? And they're, no, he's got 11 of us. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. My children still see their children, but they don't know what to say to me. We're on a total. I saw a friend of mine who used to own a shop in Carnaby Street and Oxford Street, and he was a really wealthy boy. He was my friend for years. He was such a lovely fella, but I couldn't be. They didn't help me, and I saw him. I hadn't seen him for years, and he's come up to me in Oxford Street and spoke out the corner of his mouth and said, "Here's 20 quid. Get yourself a shirt." I changed my life. I decided I wanted to dress differently, but it didn't suit what he wanted, so I've got to get myself a new shirt. So you have to change everything if you want to succeed, and it's so difficult. And the younger your children are, the harder it gets. I would say to, has anyone got a 18-year-old child in the room? 17? Okay. If I was to come around to your house and you said my son's got a problem he's using, I would tell you to brace yourself for another 20 years. And no, don't waste your money sending him to rehab. You send him to rehab when he wants to go. Don't waste your money. Brace yourself for many more years of it. Because they're not going to stop. If they're going to stop for you, they're not stopping.
Has to come from within.
They have to do it for themselves. Using and mixing other drugs and their effects, we have a serious problem. I can't show you. Do you know I've spoken about these nitazines to you? I got an email today while I was, and I couldn't check my emails for some reason. There's no signal here. But I got my email when I got back to where I was just before. 984 deaths because of this in the last year. Nitazines. There's a new thing out called nitazines. Nitazines, there's 4 of them. Do you know what benzodiazepines are? Like benzos are diazepam, Valium, simazepam. Nitazines, it's a new set of drugs. One of them is up to 1,000 times stronger than heroin. And they're mixing it with weed, with heroin. It's a man-made opiate, nitazine. They're mixing it with heroin. In Southend alone, I knew up until a few weeks ago, there were 6 overdoses for people using heroin that was mixed with nitazines. They're putting nitazines in cannabis that they're selling to kids in school. It makes people, they don't want to kill them, but it makes you want more. You can buy now in Afghanistan a kilo of heroin for £19. That £19, when it's shipped over to England, that kilo becomes as big as from here to the wall and this high. And instead of £19, they turn that £19 into £250,000. But they don't smuggle 1 kilo over. They smuggle over 100 kilos. So there's billions of pounds being made. And they encourage people to use more by putting some other rubbish in it. And you haven't got a chance if you overdose. It comes in liquid pills, comes in powder form. Fentanyl, have you heard of fentanyl? Okay, in hospitals now, when you have an operation, you come round for an operation, they used to give you morphine. Morphine's a painkiller, it just shuts you up. I had an operation, when I had the stroke, I had to have an operation on my neck. When I came round from the operation, there were 3 security guards round the bed. And I'm like, what's going on? They said, well, we gave you fentanyl when you kicked off. I had no idea what they were talking about. But I'm in bed, I'm in hospital, I'm in agony, and the nurses, you know when they come around at night with a trolley, and they said, paracetamol or morphine? I said to the nurse, you're having a laugh. Paracetamol or morphine, you know, it's ridiculous. And the hospitals are finding stronger drugs all the time. That's going out onto the street, and they're using it. Fentanyl in America, I think it's Ohio, they have, it's terrible, there's documentaries on it. If you go on YouTube, it's frightening. It's so scary what is going on around the world with regards to drugs. We're 20 years behind America. America was using crack in the 60s. And when then crack came over to England, no one used crack cocaine before the Kennedy government. And there's lots of stuff that goes on, so it goes in America, then it gets shipped over to here. And we go along with it, we're going to do it. These drugs are being mixed with our drugs, and there's only one reason they mix it, and that's for profit. No other reason whatsoever. The rehabs have climbed on the bandwagon, and the rehabs want your money. The rehabs, your son, your daughter's using, you need to come with me. It's £16,000, I'll look after her. That's a month. I saw an advert recently and I wanted to phone them up. I actually feel like I want to blow the whistle on all of them. The new one now is they're advertising for £8,000 a week in rehab. You cannot go to rehab. If anyone in this room ever has a problem and they say to you, come on a week, £8,000 you'll be cured, don't go. Spend the money on something else. It's impossible. Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. And for me, I think I'm coming to the end of my career, which is the right time, because it's pretty scary what's going on. Ecstasy. Ecstasy, the one thing your children have to be aware of when they use ecstasy. Anyone know? The one thing you have to tell your children this if they get involved in going to raves and parties, and that's dehydration. You dehydrate and you don't know how much to drink. Do you remember Leah Betts? Okay, Leah Betts died, and I got friendly with the family at the time, and it was her 18th birthday. She took her first ever E at the 18th birthday party. Her dad was a copper and her mum a nurse, and she wanted to get a drink, and she was gone 20 minutes, and her little brother who was 11, went to find her, and he found her in the bathroom with the bath full, the taps were running, and she's throwing water down her throat. And by the time the paramedics got there, she drowned. They got the water out of her body, put her in a life support machine, and she died 5 days later. I told this story in a school in Greenwich, and one of the teachers was crying really badly. So I went up to her afterwards and I said, what was it that affected you? And she said, Leah was my best friend in school, and our birthdays are on the same day. And she wouldn't change the date because she wanted to try drugs. She made her mind up that she's doing it on her 18th birthday.
What, she drank water to death?
Sorry?
How did she die?
Because she drowned inside, she drank so much.
Wow.
Yeah, but the teenagers will say, well, you mustn't drink alcohol. Doesn't matter what you drink, you fill up. And if you fill up, you drown your lungs.
Wow.
And it's heartbreaking. But that's what, in ecstasy, the main ingredient in ecstasy is MDMA. That's what makes you dance all night. So they might call it MD. Makes you dance all night. But at the moment there's about 2% MDMA in an ecstasy tablet. The rest of it is made up with crushed glass, rat poison, bleach, heroin, speed, talcum powder, concrete, cement, sugar, anything they can put in to bulk it out. Now, why would you put heroin in a drug that's supposed to make you dance all night when heroin calms down?
Addictive.
Sorry?
It's addictive.
Okay, it is, but that's not the reason. So if you can imagine when you get home, if your wife's a good cook and you've got spaghetti bolognese and she's decided to put a little bit of rat poison and bleach in it, will you be sick when you ate it? Do you think you'd be sick? Yeah? When you finish being sick, would you want to finish your dinner? No. But if we put a little bit of heroin in your dinner, you'd be sick but you won't feel ill. So in what they do with ecstasy, there's a little bit of heroin in so you don't feel ill from the poisons. Then you put a little bit of speed in so you think you're still using MDMA. So you're not. So what the kids are doing, they're not getting as high as they want. So they're taking 3 or 4 or 5, 6 pills at a time because that's how it is. If ever you've been to a rave and you go into the toilet, all you can smell is sick because that's everyone goes in and they throw up. People wash their face. Oh, I need that. And then, oh, I need that. They wash their faces and sick. They can't. They've just got to cool down. But that's what. And our kids are being told. What we'll do, we'll set up tents that we'll check your drugs are okay. So they check your drugs. Can you imagine being a teenager? You've worked so hard, it's £100, you now got your own drugs, and I'm going to the party, I'm going to the festival, and they check your drugs and they say, sorry, they're really no good. What are you going to do? Tell them they'll keep the drugs, I'll go and get another lot. No, you're going to use them. They don't care. No, I'll be alright, it won't happen to me. That's what they say. No, I'm fine. It's not me. I know. And have you ever heard people say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know, yeah, I'll be okay. I'm alright. They move from ecstasy to come down from ecstasy. They take Xanax. I told you about that earlier. Oh, you can, if Mr. Crosby sends you this presentation, then you've got, yeah.
The ones you've presented to the kids, is it as graphic as this?
Sorry?
Your presentation to the boys, or kids, was it like,
It's relevant to their year.
okay, but it made them understand the importance and...
It's the same slides, but I
Okay,
use them
great,
for different
great.
year groups.
Great.
So you want them to be scared?
Yeah, I'm scared myself. I'm just hoping they get the name.
My daughter.
I hope you didn't give them, you make them understand that...
If you show the emails to show what each year
My
7.
My daughter came today. She was really intrigued and she said, Mummy, you have to go. She's year 7.
Okay, great.
Okay. But we spoke in year 7 about Calpol,
Yeah.
chocolate,
Okay.
computer games, and peer pressure. It's
Yes.
all about drugs.
TikTok and
I did with year 7, I've got a load of rubbish on the floor. Aerosol cans, cigarette packets, pill boxes, and I tell them peer pressure. There was me and one teacher in the room. I said, you're in the school, it's me and the teacher, is it a safe environment? Yeah. Put your hand up if you agree. No one in this room can make you do anything you don't want to do, especially if it's dangerous. They'll put their hands up. So I said, now I need to know what 11 and 12-year-olds think is dangerous. So I want you to come to the front, pick up something and go and sit down.
Yeah.
They all picked something up. And I said, I asked you at the beginning, has anyone seen me before? And you all said no. So a stranger's come into your school and I've got you to pick something up. How easy would it be for your friend to do that? And how easy would it be for your friend to get you to do something that's not right? So this is the thing that I have. If your child has a friend and the parents use, and the parents think it's okay for the child to smoke weed with them, that child is going to tell your children, come on, come out of my house, it's all right.
Yeah.
And your child's going to go,
Yeah.
or might go, not definite. But this is what we have to contend with. The other thing is Xanax and clonazepam. They're using that to come down. If anyone here under 18 is using that and getting it illegally, you're buying it on the internet and you don't know what ingredients in it. The big problem I'm having at the moment, I mean this is a serious problem, is with ketamine. Does anyone know what that is? You're gone. It's horse tranquilizer. It's meant to knock out a free stunt animal so the vet can operate on him. And your children